Okay. All nations will serve the Son of Man. Let's go to the biblical record. This would be the book of Daniel, one of my most favorite prophets in the Bible. And it's interesting that people in certain times and places were afraid and prohibited from reading the book of Daniel. Also, there's an echo of the same words in the book of Enoch, whereas in Daniel it says all nations will serve him. The book of Enoch says all nations will worship him, the Son of Man. Okay. In my vision, this is Daniel speaking. In my vision in the night, I continued to watch, and I saw one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. You might call it cryptic language, but everything has significance. Everything has meaning. His dominion, okay, let me back up here. He was given dominion, glory, kingship, that the people of every nation and language should serve him. Okay. And his dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. So here we have one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given dominion, glory, and kingship that peoples of every nation and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting kingdom that will not pass away. His kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. So we can keep this in mind as we study populations around the earth, around the world. So I was looking at some of the populations. Let me see if I can get things fixed here. Okay, I was looking at some of the populations of the world. Last night I was studying the Jewish people, and there was a little discrepancy which might turn out to be significant, in that some of the Jewish population happens to have um, some African or Hamite lineage, maybe not African anyways. So what it is this E1B is 12%, very large, significant population in the Ashkenazi Jewish Y haplogroup. So we need to figure out how far back in time it goes, if this is actually a separate tree from E3B1, E3B1, and E3B2, because it is E1B. Okay. In Africa, we got E1A, E3A, E3A7. And where is this E1B? E1A, E3A, E3A7. And of course, these are E3s. Over here, this Cushite population, this Mitzrayim population, and this Phoenician descendant of Put population. So it could be that this significant amount here, E1B, is what remains of the Canaanites, depending on the genetic distance chart, wherever this shows up, and how far back in time this goes. So that would be interesting, because it's a significant population, it's a unique population, it's a Hamitic population, and it could be distinct from the Cushites, Egyptians, and Phoenicians. Could be the Canaanites, the descendants of Canaan, because they were closely associated with the Jewish people, not even though they were rivals. So that would be interesting to find out. And regardless, all the nations will serve the Son of Man. Now, who is the Son of Man? Son of Man would be Messiah. It's the seed of the woman, born without a man, whose father is God. So he'd be the last Adam, able to make the perfect provision for Adam. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay. So all the nations will serve the Son of Man. See what we got going on here. Nothing. Oh, we have Jim Rock, Wildheart. Hey, JJ, can you get the same map on non-creationist websites? These are non-creationist websites, or non-creationist information. Non-creationist websites are fake, Wildheart. Good stuff, JJ. Keep it up. Gotta go. Watch later. Just finished working out just in time for JJ's stream. God at work in my life. Yeah. Wild Heart says no. Not even karma. Not sure anybody would care to join right now. I could invite. But I don't think anybody's going to join. So I might ignore whoever wants to join for a while. So anyway, yeah. We have this here. Again, we have this 15% population here, which is, no, actually 25%. 25% population in the among the Jewish population, not even Ashkenazis, but among the Jewish population, it's a EM35. And if we go back to the other charts, whatever they are, we will find that the EM35 is an E1B, just the same as it is over here. The E1B, 12% here. So it's consistent. The testing, this of course this is secular testing. Is the creationists don't have time to do all this stuff. Creationists are supposed to be preaching the gospel, but the skeptics are forcing creationists to become scientists. Uh, it's not exactly what we're supposed to be doing, but if that's what it takes to convince you of what the facts are, then we'll become scientists. So, don't know what this is. So it's interesting that this E1B1, which is not in Africa, could be the other son of Ham, which would be Canaan, which is in the area of the Canaanites and could have become part of the Jewish population, and a significant amount of the Jewish population, 25%. Because this is J, this is Semitic, this is descendants of Abraham, the J M267 and M172. These are descendants, direct descendants of Abraham, whether Jewish or Arabic or whatever, but in this case, they're probably Jewish. And this E is from Ham, not Shem. This R is from Japheth, not Ham or Shem. So these R's are European populations. Now this G is the other mystery Semitic population that seemed to have joined the Jewish population in this Neolithic time period here, where you have a migration here and migrations here. And of course, this is Mesopotamia. They talk about migrations through here because that's basically where everybody came from, Mesopotamia. 100 years after the global flood, we were here. Everybody was here in this area trying to build up Tower of Babel when a catastrophic event occurred 100 years after the global flood, which cut in half the lifespan of people a second time. The first time the lifespan was cut in half was from the global flood itself. The second time the lifespan was cut in half was in the days of Peleg. So in the days of Peleg, there was another catastrophic event that few people know about, which caused the continents to break apart. The Bible says in the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. And that's when the lifespan of people was cut in half a second time. So it was about 1,000 years. People lived about 1,000 years. It's cut in half to like 500 years. Then in the days of Peleg, it was cut in half again from 400 or 500 years to like 200 years, and then just steadily went downwards until today. We'll be doing good if we live 100 years old, especially with the lifestyle that people have, and the careless lifestyle that people have, abusing the bodies, as far as drinking and overeating and smoking and all this stuff. This is just nonsense. But anyways, that diminishes your lifespan even more, brings it down to about 50 or so. So, and that's basically the lifespan of the Amerindians in South America, because that's what I know about, is about 50 years old, because it's a very rigorous lifestyle, and there's a lot of there's extreme heat and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, so in the days of Peleg, the earth was divided, and we have some new evidence, thanks to James Downard, that India has glacier markings going from the south to the north. Now, apparently it twisted somewhat, so I don't know how exactly that is, but India used to be down here connected to Africa and Antarctica, actually. And in the breakup of the continents, India moved to where it's at today. Actually came off of here somewhere, moved that far. Australia actually even moved a greater distance, because Australia was connected there too. But anyways, but of course this is a pretty big distance across the equator. So yeah, that means India, before the breakup of the continent, was in the south. That's why it has the glacier markings going from south to north. And 100 years after the global flood, it broke apart. So that's why it has the evidence of the glacier markings. Which is another piece of evidence supporting the breakup of the continents 100 years after the global flood. I've already mentioned many times the fact that the jaguars and the greater grisons made it to South America, and the humans did not, because the humans were trying to build the Tower of Babel. Of course, the jaguar is the same thing as a leopard from Africa. The greater grison is the same thing as the honey badger from Africa. So, and of course, all the rest of the other unique South American animals made it to South America. 100 years after the global flood, when there was a breakup of the continents. So that's another piece of evidence. That would be India with the glacier markings going from south to north, which supports the breakup of the continents 100 years after the global floods. Not, also not forgetting that the lifespan was cut in half at that time, because it was another global catastrophe. It was such a global catastrophe that people separated into their own family groups, began speaking their own languages, and gave up building Tower of Babel. And then that's when they spread out. It's when the Cushites went to Africa here, the land of Cush. The Mitzrayim Egyptians went to Egypt, and the Put Phoenicians went to the area of Libya, North Africa. And what happened is Nimrod is the son of Cush, but Nimrod had his kingdom here in Shinar, and so he's well established. He was a great hunter. He was well established, mighty in the earth, and he basically just stayed in this area and basically migrated this way. So this sea is the son of Cush, which is the son of Ham. So Nimrod is the grandson of Ham. That's why he has a CY chromosome, because he's in the Hamitic line. Same thing with D, but I'm not sure who D is. We have their names, We have the names of these people that went into Africa. We have the names of this person here. We just don't know who is who. But we do know who Nimrod is. But we can figure out, we might be able to figure out who this progenitor of the Andamanese people are, and they're Cushites. This line goes all the way back to the breakup, the breakup or the separation of C from the family of the Cushites, and the D separates at the same time. It goes all the way back to that time. So here we go. What do we got here? Anything? Nothing? Okay, can join. What kind of table? Just curious. Dining room table. The average lifespan is actually going up. Yeah, when people take care of themselves, yeah. Even when there was a global flood, even if there was a global flood, what would indicate a God did it if you don't believe? Well, I don't want to get into that right now. I mean, everything is from God anyways, but the fact that needs to be established is that the global flood did happen, and this is the evidence. The glacial markings going from south to north in India is evidence. The lifespan being cut in half a second time is evidence. The greater Grayson and Jaguar reach in South America is evidence. And the fact that the people never reached South America going this way is evidence, because they didn't start moving until after the continents had broken apart. So that's just an interesting little bit of information there. But the main thing is that I would like to see if this E1B isn't the descendants of Canaan, which I believe it's very, very likely that it is. Of course, the Canaanites, descended from Ham, were rivals of the Israel, the Jewish people. Well, not the Jewish people, but Israel. And then they could have partially, mingled with the Jewish people. And of course, then we have this G2 is another Semitic line. It's not the Abrahamic line, but it joined to Israel too. That would be this G right here. And of course, I like to always mention this I here. This I is me. I'm I. Okay, and we have in North Africa, in this area here, the Southern Europe, we have a large representation of the JY chromosome. It's either Jewish or Arabic, or Arabic would be descendants of Abraham too. See, J2 M72 and J1 2 or J12F something or other. Okay, so over here I got this J is what? Just J. Let me see over here, this other one. So this J here, let's go to Portugal, see what this J here is. The Belmonte Jews would be the J is the green. No, this is mtDNA. I kind of lost the chart, I guess, of Portugal. Anyways, I'll look at this chart here. So it's J. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, here it is. I find it. Okay, so this is the Y chromosome. So we have the Belmonte Jews, and they are, drum roll. Oh, I got two I's here. I didn't even notice that. You got I1 and I2. Okay, so we have it's J12 F2. Okay, so this J12 would be the Jewish male lineage, as opposed to JM170. I mean, or the JM172. So this dark green here in this chart would probably be the Arabic descendants of Abraham, because Abraham had 7 other sons besides Isaac. And this J2 might be the Arabic population, this J2. But okay, because this lighter green here could be the actual descendants of Isaac or Israel and Israel. So it'd be this green here, this green here, this green here. These are the Jews. This darker green could be the other population, other descendants of Abraham, which would be the Arabic. So we have to keep that in mind. If you're looking for the Jewish J line, it would be the J12 according to this Portuguese chart of Belmonte Jews. And of course, you have a large J here, J12 here, and you have a smaller amount of J12 here. In in the Portuguese host population. Okay, I guess that's everybody. That's the general population in Portugal, I guess. But it's interesting here. I got to look at this again. There's 2 I's. But I don't see them showing up here very well. There's a light green eye, which is here, and the lighter green is G. But this light green is IM170, which is my progenitor line. And I don't see the other one. I don't see the darker eye. Let me see if it's in the general population. Oh, it is in the general population, yeah. Yeah, but this in the general population, that would be migration probably from Vikings, is my guess, because it's not represented in the actual Jewish population. But there is the lighter green eye is the eye M170, which is later turns into IM253, which is me. IM26. Oh. I don't know. Maybe that's it. It doesn't seem to be a part of the main Jewish population, so I'll just leave it at that here. But that's interesting. I didn't know there was 2 I's, I1, I2, or I and I2. But that could be migration, I suppose. or this one here. And even this one here could be migration too. Or it could not be. It could be part of the Jewish population. Anyway, so all nations will serve the Son of Man. Okay. J for Jews makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, the J is for Jews, E is for Egyptians, C is for Cushites, I is for me. What else? No, that's just not really the case. I'm just making it up, but so much for that. It's always best to look at things with two eyes. Yeah, we got to be objective, right? Wildheart, we got to be objective. So that was interesting. So we've identified this EB1 here, which is a Hamitic Y chromosome descendant, and it seems to be separate from anything here in Africa. So it could be the descendants of Canaan. Canaanites. So the memory of the Canaanites is preserved in the Jewish people because they were rivals of the Jewish people. And so at one time, way back in time. But as we said before, we have three distinct groups of people. We have the Hamites, which are located in Africa, and C and D. And we have the Semitic population, which is F, G, H, I, J. F, G, H, I, J. There's H is Dravidian. G is this Semitic population here. So it's F, G, H, I, J is Semitic. K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T is Japhethite, which is all the rest of the world here. All the way over to the Americas as well. Because the Bible says Japheth went north. This is north. R1b, that's Japhethite. Q, Japhethite. N, Japhethite. O, Japhethite. K, Japhethite. Makes sense. DNA doesn't lie. Of course, this is the Y chromosome. There's also the mtDNA. This would be the mtDNA. And we have some mystery haplogroups here. We got the K here, which we can't find. Can't find over here a K. And we can't find a W. No W's. Got V and U and H. No K and no W is in this sampling here. But here we have a K and a W. The U and the T, the U and the T, we have accounted for, and the N we have accounted for, and the M we have accounted for. The M is Japhethite, And this is the thing with Asia. It seems like Asia has a lot of Semitic mitochondrial DNA. So the T and the N and the K and the J and the H and the O and I all seem to be Semitic. The H, U, V, T, J, and I. Where's I missing too? Where's the I? Guess the I is missing too. But a lot of Asia has a lot of Semitic mitochondrial DNA, as well as the rest of Europe. In fact, it seems like the entirety of Europe has a lot of mitochondrial DNA. So this is the mitochondrial DNA, and H is the blue, is all throughout Europe. Okay, we have this dark color here. This is Japheth. The exception would be the C, this dark color purple here. And let me see, we got M. This is Japhethite, this green color. So this green color, a light green color, and a dark purple color is a Japhethite mtDNA, as well as the sky blue, which is represented in right here in HZ, which is, what's HZ? HZ is Hazara. Oh, and you got sky blue here too, which is TH. TH is Thailand. There we go. So yeah, the sky blue, this light green, and this dark purple is Japhethite mtDNA, as well as the blue. This blue over here is mitochondrial DNA from the wife of Japheth. And this blue is all the way into South America. So yeah, there is a pretty good representation of Japhethite mtDNA in Asia. But as we'll see, there is also a very, very, very significant amount of Semitic mitochondrial DNA, which would be the wife of Shem. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of Japhethite mitochondrial DNA throughout the area. Of course, it's sky blue. How about Europe? What do we got in Europe? In Europe, not so much. We have the G, which is this light beige color, or whatever color it is, pinkish. That's Japhethite. This dark color E is Japhethite. So yeah, this, to be expected. There's a significant amount of Japhethite mitochondrial DNA. And then we have the Q, which is, I guess, this color here in the Papua New Guinea area region. Okay, and everything else is Semitic mitochondrial DNA, which would be the N. The N, the I, the W, all the rest of this is Semitic from N, which would be this in Australia, this dark purple here. Where is this dark purple here? I mean, it's bright dark purple. I, which I don't see very much of, it looks like it's over here, here in this area here. Okay, that's I. W is a dark orange, which is in this area of the cradle of civilization, looks like. A, okay, now A would be this darker color over here in the Americas. So this, which is a large population, or a large percentage of the population. These Eskimos here are almost 100% this color A. And even this U, which is over here in Europe, is affecting the that would be affecting the autosomal DNA in the people of these areas in Europe and in Asia. And the only places that wouldn't be affected by the autosomal DNA would be these places where there's a large amount of strictly Japhethites. And we know that in history, ancient history, that the Japhethites were called blackheads because they had jet black, straight jet black hair. So they were called blackheads, as opposed to, I guess, the other populations. So in these areas where you have the mitochondrial DNA being significantly represented, it would probably be more of the Japhethite resemblance. But then again, there's throughout there's a significant amount of Semitic mitochondrial DNA, which would be the this B, for example, this Polynesia over here. This B is almost entirely Semitic mitochondrial DNA. This, of course, this blue is not. And the dark purple is not, but the red is. So you get the red and the gray. The gray is too. And this lighter one. I think this lighter purple is A, so that's a Semitic mitochondrial as well in North America, not so much in South America. But that's Semitic mitochondrial DNA. Of course, you still have the red in South America, some places. But all the way down here, this is strictly, looks like it's strictly Japhethite DNA, mitochondrial DNA. So maybe they made it here first, I don't know. So, and then we got the L1, 2, and 3, which is probably exclusively in Africa, because the mother of Mitzrayim settled in Egypt. Her name is Egyptus, and all of her daughters remained in Africa, according to the DNA evidence that we have. The surviving daughters, anyway. So, until recently, of course, because there you have it represented as pink, this yellow, and this bluish color. It's all in Africa. And this is all mitochondrial DNA. And of course, we see a larger representation of all the different mitochondrial DNAs in this area of the cradle of civilization, which is Uzbekistan, Turkey, and these areas here. The same as the Y chromosome. Okay, but the interesting thing here, which puzzled me, is that the Aborigines have almost exclusively the Semitic mitochondrial DNA. Let me see, wait, what's this color here? N. Oh yeah, this is N. So that's Semitic, and the P, it looks like P is Semitic. And this red is Semitic, and this Q is not. This Q is Japhethite, mitochondrial DNA. Okay, so, but what puzzled me was how the Aborigine or Aboriginal population is almost exclusively, with a sliver of something else in here maybe, it's almost exclusively Semitic mitochondrial DNA, which is this one here and this N here. That's what surprised me. Okay, and otherwise this is largely Japhethite in this area here and up here and up here. See, the reason why I'm pointing this out is that Europe was largely influenced by the Semitic population, both the Y chromosome and the mtDNA chromosome, whereas Asia has considerable amount of Semitic mitochondrial DNA, but it maybe perhaps was more influenced by the Kushite population, male population, because apparently the female population stayed behind, which is kind of interesting, though, I guess. But I guess that's it, pretty much. But it's interesting how things, played out. This tip here is Japhethite mtDNA. This tip here is Semitic mtDNA, as well as this red here. And but it looks like the majority of this is Japhethite mtDNA, except yeah, with exceptions of what? The red, the yellow, which is more in this area, and the A, looks like the A in here. Little slivers here and there, the A here, the A there. And this looks like N there. But that affects that's what the genetic make it turns out to be, pretty much. And if we go here, we can see the influence of the Hamitic population in the Pacific Islands, which is obvious. You have the D's here, the D's all the way in here, all the way up into Siberia and Japan and eastern China, as well as the seas, which is Nimrod. But here, apparently, we have the seas are all around here. You have C1 here. First C3 went to America. C2s are in the Pacific Islands. The Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. Oops. And this, the farther south, it seems like if you hang around the equator, that's kind of where the Cushites migrated, with the exception of Nimrod. So the Cushites were migrating this way, and there is a dark population here called the Andamanese. D is a descendant of Cush, it'd be Cushites, and there is a dark population in the southern Philippines, apparently, which should be K, C, and O. The K and the O are Japhethite, but the C is the Cushite. Of course, it's Nimrod, descendants of Nimrod. I don't know if they came around this way. They might have come around the outside this way down here, or they came down through here. According to this, C came through here, but it's hard to say. Maybe it's possible they came down through here as well. But at any rate, they ended up in Australia, and in these areas of the Papua New Guinea and the islands and Pacific Islands. And there's one thing about the mitochondrial DNA. It looks like the C2 never made it to the Americas. But if you look at the mitochondrial DNA distribution, looks like this this red here, this B, mitochondrial DNA, could have and probably did reach the Americas from here, which is another interesting thing. But I guess it's possible it went this way. It's just that I don't see any representation going this way. So I'm thinking they went across the Pacific Ocean and landed here in the Americas. So that would be the only other significant thing. Have a Y here, large Y in NI. NI is Nvico, I don't know. This is Japan, so this is something else. But this is Semitic mitochondrial DNA. This area here, this is a pretty significant population. I mean, percentage of population. So that's interesting there, the Y, which I didn't seem to notice before. Okay. So, Jesus is Lord. Shalom. Thanks, JJ. Good show. I've got to go. Thanks, JJ. Later. So thanks for your participation, your input. Got to have that objective input, right? Can't can't be living in a, what do you call it, an echo chamber. I mean, you can, but you just keep yourself from knowing as much, probably. So yeah, this is very interesting. I find it very fascinating, the study of DNA and the peoples of the world, and of course, we know that all nations will serve the Son of Man. So in the night visions, I continued to watch, and I saw one like the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given dominion, glory, and kingship, that the people of every nation and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away. His kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. How is that possible? It's because of his perfection, his holiness, his completeness, his wholeness. But that's something that you can only understand if you don't live in a skeptic echo chamber. All the kingdoms of the earth will serve him. And of course, the Bible is true. DNA is proving it on a daily basis. Archaeology proves it. Archaeology, they keep finding things, significant things, that prove the biblical timeline and narrative. So yeah, it's a big world, but it's a small world too. And with the Y chromosomes, we can identify who everyone is. We can trace and follow the migrations historically and with the DNA. So this is very, very key to understanding what actually happened. And the main thing that happened, one of the main things that happened, was the breakup of the continents that caused people to spread out after the animals had already spread out. So yeah, we got to do some more study, but the interesting thing I want to know with this video is the idea that perhaps, just perhaps, this this E1B could be the descendants of Canaan, the son of Ham, because they're unique. They seem to be unique to the Jewish population. And that would be very interesting if we could verify that. So we need to wait till more genetic studies come out, and it'll probably verify many of the things that I'm talking about already. And one more time, if I may. Okay. Uh, I saw one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given dominion, glory, and kingship, that the people of every nation and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting kingdom, everlasting dominion that will not pass away. His kingdom is one that will never be destroyed.